All right. Well, hey, Demetra, how are you?
Great, thanks, Lynette. Great to be here with you.
I know it's wonderful, actually. So, Demetra, you and I know each other. We've known each other now for just about. We're coming up on our second year anniversary, if you will. You and I met through an online digital program that we both purchased that created this bit of community. And then within that community, we created a mastermind group. And I think a lot of my audience will already know a little bit about this weekly mastermind group that we have called the Early Birds. And the reason is we wake up very early on a Tuesday and get together. And so we've been on and off for roughly around 12 women, all with a similar passion or desire to launch online programs that we are particularly passionate about. So you and I met in that group. I think you were probably one of the first people that said, "Hey, I'd love to join your group." I think I posted this thing in Facebook,
Yep,
and
yep.
it's been great ever since. And I cannot even believe that we've been together for 2 years. But before we get into that even further, share with the audience just a little bit about who you are and give a little bit of background so that we all have a basis of what we're talking about.
Okay. So I'm originally from Missoula, Montana, and I spent 18 wonderful years growing up there. I was very lucky because I grew up in a small town, but there was an amazing, the level of arts teaching, like in music, dance, and theater was a very high level. So I was really fortunate to be immersed in the arts and had parents who were supportive of that. So I went into music. I got my undergrad and my master's degrees in piano performance. I'm a classical pianist, and ended up getting my doctorate in a field called performance practice, which you've probably never heard of. It's the study of how music was performed when it was written. So I did that at Stanford University, and there um, I met people from all over the world. It was a fascinating period of my life. And I met my future husband, my now husband, he was my future
Yeah.
husband at that time. We moved to New York originally. We were living there for 6 years, and then we moved to Greece, where we raised our children. And in Greece, I was suddenly in a whole new world, right? And I couldn't um, operate the way I had my entire life because suddenly I had this language and this culture and all the things that come with parenthood all together. And it was a very challenging experience for me, very rewarding, but very challenging. And in the middle of that, or toward the second decade I was there, I kept thinking, okay, this is all good and well, and I'm loving it with my children, but what am I going to do when they leave and they go to university or they go wherever? And I really started thinking to my next chapter in life. And that's what led me to pursue a couple other ideas that even though I've always been extremely fulfilled as a musician and in the music world, I was just kind of thinking, what else could I do to have an a surprise chapter, a plot twist in my life. So that's how I ended up in the course where I met you. And then meeting you in this small accountability pod has just been the big game changer.
Yeah, exactly. It has been wonderful. It's so good to be in a group with like-minded women and all sharing the same frustrations, but also the celebrations as well. And I think out of all of us, you have definitely evolved quite miraculously in terms of just your ability to grab hold of technology that you require because, as you've mentioned, a lot of what you did before didn't require technology. It just required in person. So you were, teaching piano or whatever. So let's back up a little bit. So you moved to Greece and then, but you're not living in Greece now. You are
Right. I was there for
when,
the past about almost 20 years. And just recently, my husband was relocated to outside of Chicago, and that's where we
okay,
are.
excellent. Okay, cool. So tell us a little bit about, moving away from your sort of in-person stuff to a little bit of online. How did you know that going to an online program or creating an online program was sort of what you wanted to do?
Well, I guess I can answer that in two pieces. One was
Sure.
I was forced to work online. And as a piano teacher, I actually told people were asking me, are you going to teach online? And I said, no, I just said that wouldn't work. And then, I had the one student who couldn't find a teacher, and the other who really wanted it, and another one. Other people were on lockdown too, So I said, okay, well, we can try it. And I went with my what is it, kicking and screaming. But
Yeah.
I was astonished by the results. I actually had an amazing experience teaching online because I started making videos for my students and making little audio reminders and sending them things to support them between the lessons because they could just go online. And all of a sudden I realized, oh, this is a whole new game. And although I missed being in person, I found actual advantages to being online, especially that support between lessons. And just because sometimes you just need one tip or 1 minute of your teacher telling you, oh, you could do it like this. And you didn't have to wait a whole week. So that was like a revelation. So that was the one part. And then the other part was that I actually felt that with my children living in one part of the world and my parents living in another, that location, not being tied to a location was really, really important for me. And I didn't want to think, I can't go see my parents because I have to teach someone in person tomorrow. And
Yeah.
that was a huge motivator for me. So I guess you could say that I did it because I was excited and I liked the idea. And I also want to say one other thing. I started learning from people online, people who, I would never have had the chance to learn from because we don't live in the same place, but because they were teaching online, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is just a
Yeah.
miracle. Like I can learn from this person. They live on the other side of the world. So I guess I started looking at it as a whole new world and one that I wanted to be a part of. So does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I was going to say to you, so you were doing your piano lessons in person, but then because of COVID, that's what prompted you to, okay, so I mean, you could have said, well, there you go. Now I got to just wait till COVID is over until I can go back to but it was sort of that silver lining, I guess. And I think that if we really think about it, COVID's been a bit of silver lining in a lot of people's lives. And I mean, even for myself, when I think about your story, myself too, I mean, we both are in a program that I actually purchased several years before you ever did. And it had a different name, same instructor, but different name. And I remember when I purchased it, I thought, okay, great, this is great. I'm going to launch this I don't even know what I'm going to launch. I just know I need help. But, and it comes back to my dream. I've always wanted to be able to do something online to get that flexibility and freedom that you're talking about, where now you can go and visit your parents or your kids because they're all living in different locations, and you don't have to be tied to location. And I think that's, super important. So I purchased this program that helps you launch online programs, but quite frankly, I had no idea what that program was. And it was only, 5 years later, I think, weeks, I'm kind of embarrassed to say that, 5 years later, that I finally figured out what it was that I was going to launch. And so, hence the reason how we're now together in this mastermind group. So tell me how, okay, so you kind of went a little bit kicking and screaming into the online, okay, I guess I can try this, the way I teach more in a virtual environment. And then tell me how it's evolved, because I know the story, but tell the listeners how you've evolved, and you've turned it into a few other things as well.
Well, because my whole life I've worked in music, and that was the first thing I did online, was teaching the piano lessons. In a way, it seemed logical that I would just keep doing that. But I knew that once the lockdown would loosen, I would want to do that in person again. And I do now. I teach in person, and I love that. But what I kept thinking is that all those years I lived in Greece, I had such an amazing experience in terms of learning things that I would never have learned had I not lived there. And that had to do with food and the language. At first, I was just thinking, I want to share. Well, actually, all my friends, over the years, I've been sharing with them via email or conversations what I'd learned about cooking and how to make Greek food. But I had never put it in any sort of logical framework. And so that's what I was planning. I said, when I finish, when my kids go to university, I'm going to do a food thing. However, several friends had been asking me if I could help them with Greek language. I said, well, I'm not a Greek teacher, but I can show you the basics. And then two, three people became three, and then three became four, and then four became five. And so then I thought, we were in the course together, and I was thinking, well, I don't know what to teach online, but maybe I can just create a little beginning Greek foundations course, because quite frankly, whenever anyone in Greece asks me what course should I take, I can't recommend any, because I think there's a very logical approach to learning the basics, and it's not out there. So I said, okay, maybe I'll do that. And I didn't realize what a can of worms I was opening, but I did that. And I've had a wonderful time connecting with people all over the world, either expats who live in Greece or people of Greek descent who live outside of Greece and want to connect with the language, or people who just love Greek language and are interested in it. And now I'm bringing the food component into it, and I'm starting to go into that. So I guess I'm just what they describe as multi-passionate, and supposedly you can make a lot more money if you just focus on one thing. But I just, these are the subjects that interest me and that I love teaching. So I'm kind of playing around in different fields, and actually I'm loving it. It's just, I can't believe this is what I get to do. It's like open my computer and talk to people in different parts of the world and teach them about the things that I've spent my life learning about.
Exactly. And, and your whole story is about really living your true purpose. And, and you said, I could probably make a lot more money if I just sort of niche down and just honed in on one. But really, I don't think that at the end of the day, you fulfill a purpose or your passion, or however you want to paint the word purpose, um, through the lens of making money. I think honestly, it really does, because you do have to wake up every day and keep working at this one thing. And if you're, or possibly two things in your case, but if you're not passionate about it and it's something that you feel like you're getting just a paycheck from, well, then it's going to be short lived, because we both know that as we've gotten into this, oh, well, how hard can it be to launch an online program? You start to realize, you know what, it is kind of hard, and it's not for the faint of heart. And it definitely requires research and understanding. And I know that you specifically bring a lot to our early bird mastermind group from, well, have you tried this piece of technology or this piece of technology? And I know that you've really embraced it. So have you always been sort of that early adopter, if you will, of technology? Or is it just because you knew you needed to do it, but you're always looking for sort of the better way?
Well, I would say actually my motivator was how disorganized all my digital life was and how it made me crazy. And so I didn't want to live like that anymore. And I knew I couldn't teach like that, because all the pieces, as you were saying, it's complex to launch these things and to figure out, you're sharing video, you're sharing PDFs, you're creating things, and then where are your files and all the things. And I was very attracted to teachers and mentors online who were teaching you how to just streamline the digital piece, because there's the content is one thing, but getting it to work for your student is another. Because maybe I say, oh, it's easy for me, I figured it out, I can do it like this and this. But then if it's not easy for my student to figure out how that works, that's not going to work, right? So
Right.
I guess I so enjoyed taking courses from people who offered, or how shall I say, the digital piece was streamlined and it worked well. And I was like, how did they do that? But I liked that. I want to provide that for my students. And it was like I felt like a detective. I would be noticing, oh, she delivers that well. Oh, that content is really, really good, but it was hard for me to find it. Or, things like that. So I started playing around it was kind of the domino effect. Once I found this, then I found that, and then I found another. And I get excited when I find things that
Yeah.
work. And so actually a membership that I was a part of inspired me tremendously. Like I was in that membership and I saw how he ran it. And I was like, oh, okay, I can do that. He does it like this. It works. I saw his effect on his group, and I tried to follow that. So I guess I am a nerd. It's true.
Yeah.
And I've always been, if you're the person who can sit at a piano 6 hours a day by yourself inside a room, you're a person who's, you have a certain level of interest in something very specific that you can focus on. Right. So I'd say I'm a nerd, but I have a lot of fun being a nerd.
I love it. So, okay, so let's back up a little bit. You mentioned that you have always sort of had in the back of your mind, what am I going to do when my mom identity is really, I'm still going to be a mom, but not that mom that they depend on so much because they're going to be off to university and then eventually, move out, or if
Right.
they haven't already moved out. We're always going to be moms, but we do eventually, at probably in the very early 50s, we start to lose our mom hustler identity, or just our mom identity. And so then we have to create this new identity that you start to think, wow, okay, so I mean, I personally don't golf. I can golf, but I don't really enjoy it. And sure, I love to travel, but after a while, that stuff starts to get a little bit boring. And you think to yourself, well, okay, my 50s, I can do something different. But where do I start? How do I figure that all out? And that's my program, Encore Life Academy. But how did you do it? Because you didn't go through that program, obviously. We met because of that program. That's when that program got created. But how did you know, that in your 50s you had it in you to create something new, to do something different, to really, I guess, identify as Demetra Lambros for the first time ever. You sure you're a wife still, sure you're a mom, but I think in your 50s and beyond, it's that opportunity to really identify as you are the person.
Yeah, well, when I was in my early 50s, one day I was listening to Gary Vee online, and he was saying, he actually pinpointed the people in their 50s, and he said, you guys, you have something that the people who are in their 20s and their 30s, they don't have. You have experience. And he was highlighting experience. And I was thinking, that's really true. And he was saying, you're in the best position of anyone. Because, sort of think, oh, people in their 20s and their 30s are at the top of their game, or they're
Yeah.
the beginning of their road. Then I was thinking, he's right. I mean, I'm I've been teaching piano for 40 years. Like, that's a lot of experience, right? And it's not just experience teaching piano. I have experience as a teacher in general. And so just by chance, I taught music in a school in Greece, and then I taught cooking in a middle school. And I started thinking, I just enjoy interacting with people. And my kids always had their kids over, and we were a very social family, let's say. And I thought, well, I would like to do something that I make sure I'm connected with people. And even though I love teaching piano and I love my one-on-one students, it's one-on-one, right? And so how many people do you have at once? You have your students, but I enjoyed knowing that my cooking students, for example, I had a class that I think had 12 people in it. And I had all this feedback from that 1 hour. I mean, 1 hour, 12 people, or maybe it was an hour and a half. And so I thought, I love teaching, not just in music. I like teaching cooking. And I'm like, well, I didn't go to any culinary school or anything, but everybody used to just learn to cook from someone else or from their grandmother or from their culture, right? So I thought, and I was teaching casually, let's say teaching, for many years. So I thought, well, that would be fun. What if I could put something together and I could actually help people who want to learn how to cook Greek food? Or maybe they want to know how to say the ingredients in Greek. Or maybe they want to learn to speak Greek, but they would like to do it via the kitchen, which is how I learned to speak Greek. Basically, I learned how to communicate about everything that has to do with food. And that's what kind of launched me into being able to speak the language. So I guess it was a combination of just feeling like excited about doing something new, loving being connected with people, and that little spark of inspiration I got from Gary Vee.
Awesome. And you said so many great, juicy things there. I just want to break it down a little bit because, first of all, you said, I'm not a chef. I did not go to chef school. I'm not a teacher. I didn't go to teaching school. I don't have a teacher's degree, but yet you still did it. And I think that's something that, drawing on Gary Vee's or Vanderchuck's inspiration or words, it's, you have more than any person graduating from university because you've done it and you've experienced it. And that's something that, in this day and age, when we're talking about creating your purpose-filled life, it really does come from within, and drawing on all those skills that you've collected over the years, and not worrying if you don't have some sort of accreditation, because quite frankly, you've got 40 years of accreditation or 50 years of accreditation behind you that provides it. And I think that's what, and you talked about your friends sort of saying, teach me how to do this cooking, like teach me these recipes. You're sending these recipes all out by email, but show me how to do it. And that's something that I think we have to think about is, what do we get asked all of the time from our friends? Or, can I give you a little bit of advice in this area? Or can I do this particular thing for you? And if your friends and your family, that's how they see you, that's a really good sign for a side hustle, if you will. I'm going to turn the language from passion purpose to side hustle, because that's kind of what we're doing here. So it's really interesting how you're saying those things that, I don't have this, I don't have this, but yet you still do it. And that's another thing that I want to talk about as well, because when we get into our 50s and beyond, we start to, I guess, question, and maybe we did that even when in our earlier years, but I think a lot of women, at least a lot of the women that I've taken through my program, have lost a lot of their confidence and their ability. Maybe there's this thing about, well, I'm a little bit too old, or it's too late to start over, or, what would I even do? And, I'm not good enough. I don't have that degree. And all this sort of imposter syndrome and self-worth and self-doubt really starts to impact, I guess, your ability. And then, and then the whole menopausal things that happen to you as well, are all sort of forces that can prevent you from doing what you want to do. But how do you wake up every day and feel good about, all right, this is a great day and I'm going to continue to teach my students and I'm going to continue to create another program, because I hear it every Tuesday. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to do this. And I've been thinking about this about my program, and I added this and I added that. And it's just, you're so full of life and energy. It's sort of like, how does she keep doing it?
Thanks, Lynette. Well, I would definitely say I'm like any other person at whatever age. I've had thousands of times where I say, okay, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. No, I absolutely should not be doing this. What am I doing? Oh, she can do it better. She's so much younger. He knows what he's doing. He's so, 1,000 times there was that self-doubt. But then I would say to myself, really? Like, really? Because if you brought me a group of students here in person, I know I can teach, and I know I can do it. I can make it streamlined. I have a big pet peeve about things that are taught and it takes too long for people to learn them, or it's not fun. Like, learning can be fun. That's just a
Yeah.
fact. So I'm like, wait, I can do this. Now, even though I have that mentality, the support, I could not do it without the support. And I'm in several groups where those groups are focused on certain aspects of either the technology or the execution of the whole online course process. And here I really want to shout out to you, Lynette. I literally feel that Tuesday morning meeting that we have with our team is just gold, because
Hmm.
I feel connected to 10 other people who are also going,
Yeah.
okay, what am I doing? And should I do this or can I do it? But we all recognize the gold in each other, right? It's
Yeah.
so much easier when I see you and I see Denise and I see this person and that, I say, they're so good and they can do it and they have so much to offer the world. So I love the courses that I've taken, the people I've gotten support from, and our Tuesday morning early bird pod, and the individuals in the pod, not just the fact that we meet every Tuesday morning, but each person. I don't know if I've stayed 2 years in some kind of group like this, but this one, I just have felt each person. I've learned from every single person, and it's truly a joy. And so I really want to thank you, Lynette, because you're a great leader.
Ah, thanks. And that's not the purpose of that question, but thank
Okay,
you. I
well,
appreciate that.
had to sneak that in.
I'm going to go red. So no, listen, and I believe that you have to invest in yourselves. And there's one thing in yourself. And the one thing that I know a lot of women will not do is invest in themselves in the way that they would for their kids. And I'm a big, like I'm a self-proclaimed person in that arena. There was no problem dropping 10, 15, 20 over the years. Probably, I don't even want to know how much my son's hockey cost me. And then, a little bit of private schooling in there. And then my daughter, same sort of thing, private school where, she was learning French and Spanish and goes to Ivy League school, university. I mean, it was no problem. It wasn't a problem, but I did it. But man, if to drop $10,000 on me or 5,000 or 1,000, I just think, oh, it's a real struggle. But what you're saying is to invest in those skills, and it doesn't have to be big money, but it's now turning the focus onto you and finding those support groups and finding those courses that you can take that will help you get further into what you're trying to do. And I know that you can, and we've talked about this in our early bird group around how, we can get into a point where we're spending a lot of money on programs, like a program to teach you Instagram, a program to teach you Reels, a program to teach you the technology, the systems that you need to put in place for emails, the funnels. Like there is just advertising, how to do Facebook ads. Like, oh, I could just think there's so much. Um, but eventually there's a time where you just got to get executing as well. And I think that's what our early bird group does is we really push each other to just, okay, Demetra, it's time. It's get that thing launched. And Sarika, oh, her ears are probably burning right now. Sarika, it's time to launch that baby, And, but 2 years ago when we got together, we were all sitting around going, man, I don't know how I'm going to do this. It just feels so overwhelming. How do you get started? And then we just got started. And it comes back to that cliche of or that metaphorical where you just get down the path, get started on the path. You may not know always the end destination or where you're sort of headed, but stuff shows up in that path as soon as you get started. And look at even just your own programs, how they've evolved and how they're just getting better and better. And, anybody that thinks that they can launch an online program, and sure, there's some unicorns out there that have launched an online program and made 100 grand or, 6 figures in their 5 figures, 6 figures in their first launch. But those are very few and very few. But there's the blood, sweat, and tears. And we've talked about that before where, it's that pyramid or not pyramid, the iceberg that, the major stuff is underneath the water and all that blood, sweat, and tears and stuff that really sort of it takes. And so finding a group like our group and other programs that you're in and as me as well, really sort of helps support. But I would definitely say the one big thing that I've done for myself, and you were part of that decision a couple of Tuesdays ago, is I invested the most money I ever invested in myself and hired a coach That is a 12-week program. And we both know where that coach is coming from.
Yeah.
And if there's if there's anybody that I'm going to trust is this one person. And so that was a big thing. And had I not had the support of that group, I probably would not have done it. Because it was just the encouraging words, I think, more than it was, yes, do it, you're crazy. But it was just the encouraging words, like, I've just come so far, I'm so close that to where I want to get to, that I just feel like I need that one helping hand to take me that next level up the mountain. And I think about that metaphor of climbing a mountain, and you can only get so high up the mountain before you have to start drawing on, attaching your rope to other people. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of what we've done, is we are that support rope to help us bring us up the ladder. So tell me about the times, Demetra, where you've wanted to quit.
Well, I have some health issues. And actually, when in the course we were taking together, I had a big crisis with one of my eyes. And I was like, okay, I'm too old. I just can't do this type of thing. It's so intense. All these videos I have to watch and learn. And I was just, my eye, I can't see. And, it was a big drama in my head. I mean, it was a very real drama, but it was also this next level drama of I'm too old. None of these people who are in their 20s or their 30s are having to deal with this. And then, quite frankly, that's not true. People can have major health challenges at any point in life, right? So I said, okay, let's just calm down and do as much as we can by audio. And actually, this led me to trying to offer a lot of audio options for my students. And in fact, I have one student who has a problem with vision. So it almost helped me to serve that category of student, right? So that was one thing. And then another thing is that I guess because I know how I used to work, like when I was in university, I could just stay up all night, study my ass off, and get an A on an exam. And I don't have that same fortitude anymore. So sometimes when there was a deadline or something, I would think, okay, I'll just stay up late and I'll do it. And I'm like, no, I can't. And I would just get in this whole crazy conversation in my head, like, why am I even trying to do this? No, I can't do it. And I would say, wait, why? Why am I doing it? What am I doing? Can I actually do this? And the answer was yes. So I guess there were those specific times with my eye, and when I went to visit my mom, my parents, they had some health issues, and I was like, I need to be devoted to my parents. I cannot be focusing on this other thing. No, actually, I can. So every time I came up against a wall, I had those. There was a time, but I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago, where I thought, you know what? I could just go back to teaching piano only. I still teach piano in person, but I could do that only. And I just know what to do. And I wouldn't have to figure anything out. And I was like, nah, I really want to keep trying and doing what I'm doing. And so those are the specific times that come to my mind when I tell you, and the kind of general conversations that I had in my head about that.
Yeah. And I love the vulnerability and the truth there, because I am the same way. I think some days, oh God, do I have it in me to just keep going? And I just think about what's the alternative? And my mind needs stimulation, and it needs that challenge to keep me going. And so, yeah, there are definitely days where it's like, not today. And then I think, nope, not today, Lynette. You're not going to think that. You're going to keep going. So, and it
Yeah,
happens a
and
lot.
I think it's rewarding too, because I'll look back and I'll see challenges I had 6 months ago, and now not only I've gotten over them, but I'm helping other people with them, and that's
Exactly.
fun.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like oh, I can help you with that. I figured that. And then I think, oh my gosh, 6 months ago, I had no idea what to do about that. So I really think that the fun factor has been uh, an unexpected part of this journey for me. Like I was on a call the other day and I was saying, okay, this platform used to terrify me. And now I'm actually kind of obsessed with it. Like I think it's fun. And I was saying, I cannot believe I got to that point. So I think there are surprises along the way, and that's really fun.
And you know what, Demetra, you know very much what we always encourage you in our early bird group is like, Demetra, you should maybe spin up a course teaching other people how to, filter through all this technology because there's a lot of technology options
There is.
to put together an online program. And even more so now in the past 2 years, there's this insurgence of just tons of different options. Whereas maybe when I first got started, there was like one or two options. I mean, I was in like a pioneer group for this one platform that I use for my program, and it's an all-inclusive platform. And as you know, but I got in like in the pioneer days, and now it's like a $500-600 a month platform. Yeah, and I don't pay anywhere near that. But so there is a good thing about being an early adopter, which is I know you definitely have been a recipient of a few of those really sweet deals as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thanks so much for joining me today, Demetra. I think you're wonderful. You've been such an inspiration in our group. You're always our cheerleader as well. So thank you for that. And
Thank you, Lynette. I think
yeah,
it's a very special group,
it
and
is.
I just love the team feeling, and where I feel like we all have each other's backs, and yeah, really a pleasure.
Awesome. So, Demetra, where would somebody find you if they're looking for online piano lessons or learn how to do Greek in both food and language?
So I have my name is my website,
Yes.
demetralambros.com.
Uh-huh.
I do also have a website, moderngreekfoundations.com, and email demetra@demetralambros.com.
Awesome. So, I'm going to put all those links in the show notes, and anybody that wants to learn more, definitely reach out, or even just your journey of creating these online programs.
Well, thank you so much, Lynette. And like I said, you are a pivotal person in my journey. And I still
Ah,
remember seeing that little message that you put in the group saying, would anyone like? And I said to myself, early bird pod, yes, I'm in. And then I didn't realize that it was 7 a.m. my time, not 8 a.m. But I said, no, it's destiny. I felt it when I saw that name there. So I really want to thank you too, Lynette. Really, I feel really grateful to you.
awesome. Well, thank you so much. I love you.
Thank
And
you.
I will see you, I guess I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Yes. Okay, great. Thanks for having me
Okay.
on, Lynette.
Thank you.